cast your mind back to last season. In fact, you probably did the season before as well. West Ham had the second oldest squad in the Premier League. It was something that was going to need to be addressed. We all knew it. We spoke about it in depth. Everyone knew that. I think it was second, certainly last season, only to Fulham. But their squad was being propped up by the sort of geriatric Willian, who, by the way, wasn't playing like a geriatric at all. What a player he was, by the way. But it was a situation that needs to be addressed by West Ham to lower the age profile of the squad. So, sort of with that in mind, I guess I'm somewhat surprised to see the wonderful article that was produced by The Athletic and yesterday, which was absolutely magnificent, but it made worrying reading and quite distressing and embarrassing reading, actually, to be honest with you, for West Ham fans. It was an article which gave the average age of each Premier League squad. I won't make you wait until the end of the video. We are still second oldest. But it also had something else on there, which was a metric, which was a percentage of minutes by players who had come through the club's academy. Basically, club-trained players, a percentage of the minutes. Now, I'll pop the graphic up here, or you'll see it. It's everywhere on the internet. But the top of the tree was Manchester United, with 20-odd% of the players who have featured for them this season in the Premier League have been, I guess, what's that? Harrington Training Ground, that's what it's called, have been Old Trafford Harrington trained, basically. However, we'll discount them because I think that's a little bit of an anomaly. But let's start looking at some of the teams who are a little bit lower down than that. So in second place was Liverpool. 17%, 17.1% in fact, of Liverpool's game time and minutes have been taken up by people that have come through their academy. I'm not going to give you, let's start listing all the percentages because, well, quite frankly, it's boring and you'll get the gist very, very quickly. I think third were Brighton, 16%. Look, more or less, the top 10, almost, in terms of percentages that have been attributed to academy players, almost mirrored the top 10 of the actual Premier League. Yes, they were in a slightly separate order, but everybody that you would expect to be up the top in the Premier League, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Brighton, all of those guys, and more besides, they've all given serious minutes to academy graduates. Now, an academy graduate doesn't necessarily mean a youngster, by the way. So, for instance, last season, Ben Johnson did have loads and loads of minutes, but he would have been classed as an academy graduate. When Mark Noble was playing for us, he was somebody that had come through the academy. Anyway, you probably know where I'm leading the witness now. You probably know where I'm going with this, and that is that West Ham have had none. There are 4 teams at the bottom of this list who have had no minutes this season from academy graduates and academy youngsters. It's an absolute disgrace. It's disgusting. When you put it alongside the other statistic about the age and the age profile, the average age of the club, of the first team, this is an absolute shocker. It's actually disgusting. And I think it gives... I'll tell you why it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing anyway, right? But for a team like Fulham have got no one from the academy as represented them this season, but they have brought the average age of their squad down, and they're doing well. Here's the point. Fulham could turn around and say, look, do you know what? We haven't. They could say 2 things. We haven't got any youngsters in from our academy this year, but I'll make 2 excuses for Fulham on this one. Firstly, Carvalho was nicked from them very early, and so was, oh, crikey, his name escapes me now, Elliot, can't remember his name, plays for Liverpool. That's going to annoy me. That's going to really annoy me. It'll come to me during the video. You know the guy. You know, little diminutive sort of right-sided player. They've had some good players come through their academy. They just got poached really, really early. But anyway, I think the point is Fulham could say, OK, we haven't got any players from our academy, but they've been poached, and what we're doing is working. We've lowered the age range of our squad, and we don't call ourselves the Academy of Football. We're not pretending to be this club that has a mantra, that has the moniker of the Academy of Football, saying, look, we are the home of football, we produce youngsters. I would also say this about any of the others. Nobody else there in that bottom has FA Youth Cup winning players. So not only are we not playing any of these youngsters, right, we're also... There's a whole crop of them who are absolutely brilliant. I mean, Orford was captain again last week for the... I think it was the under-18s, scored, by the way. We got a lot of really, really good young players. Arguably, one of the most talented, well, not arguably, one of the most talented crop of young players in the country are West Ham's. Yet we still don't get them into the team. It's actually embarrassing. It's shocking. I'm going to say something here because I do want to make this point. I'm not going to dig out who said it, but there was a lot of worry before Lopetegui was coming in. A lot of people saying this guy does not promote youth. And there was somebody as like a West Ham account last season, which turned around and basically called out West Ham fans who were worried about that. And they basically turned around and they said, look, anyone that thinks Lopetegui won't promote youth needs their head examined, and that sort of thing. And it's because he was Spain under-21 manager, he was under-18 manager. They were saying, here is a coach with a record of promoting youth. So anybody that's worried about this, don't worry. He will promote loads and loads of youth from West Ham. Now, very few people were convinced by that because I think here's the difference. When you're a youth coach, you don't have any choice. It's not like you're manager of Spain under-18s and you can pick a 30-year-old centre-back. You can't, right? But I'll tell you what, if he could, he would have done, right? There's a vast difference between that and managing a senior team, right? Because he'd shown very, very little in his coaching career to demonstrate that he would promote youth. Anyway, I don't want to lay the blame solely at Lopetegui's door, by the way. He's a massive part to blame. I've quite frankly, I've had enough. Look, I'm sure I'd have to revisit and reassess my opinion on him if he went and beat Newcastle 2-0 at St James's Park and looked really, really good doing it. But that ain't going to happen. I won't say any more about it until I do the preview with Gio. But suffice to say, I don't think that's going to happen. So, I'd have the guy gone now anyway. I've seen all I need to see of Lopetegui. And there was nothing in his resume, CV to suggest that he was going to promote youth, and he hasn't done. It's shambolic. But that is only partly for him to blame. Last season, the stats look a little bit better because of Ben Johnson. But let's be fair, Moyes didn't really want to play him. And if we're going to start saying that David Moyes was a manager who was openly looking to use youth, he wasn't. He wasn't. There were plenty of times we had no striker and Mubama wasn't used. Plenty of times when we had no centre-backs and the young centre-backs weren't used. I could give you examples. In fact, I'll tell you what, I can't remember what game. Maybe it was Dynamo Zagreb. I can't remember exactly. Might not have been that. Anyway, he played all the youngsters and he played Longelo at left-back. And it was very short, and Longelo was arguably man of the match. Shortly afterwards, Masuaku and Cresswell were both injured. And he still didn't play him. So he was never one for doing that. The stats will be slightly skewed last season because he did use George Urphy at the end. But my point is, we've been heading this way for quite some time. But the fact that Lopetegui is worse than Moyes at youth development is horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous. And I cannot believe, well, I can believe we're in this situation. You've got to look at the average age of the squad. This was something that was absolutely so vitally important to get addressed. And look what we've gone and done. It's not like we've bought no young players. Well, we bought one really young player. Luis Guilherme don't play. We don't play him. We bought... I mean, Kilman and Todibo, I've got no problem with them two at all. No problem at all. One of them's 26, nearly 27. The other one's 23, 24. Brilliant. Well done. Fantastic. That should be the centre-back partnership sorted, really, for the next 6 years. That's really good. I'm pleased with the signing of Wan-Bissaka. I'm not criticising the signing of Wan-Bissaka, but it doesn't bring the average age of the squad down by much. But what does happen is, when you're going to go and buy Nicholas Füllkrug, who's 31 years of age, when you're going to go and buy Guido Rodriguez, who's at the end of his career, that's going to really bump up the average age of the squad. It really is. And I just look at it and think, well, you know what? It's not like the West Ham can point at this way of doing things, saying, well, hold on, this old squad and no youth players, this is really working. It's not. Because everyone above us has either got a younger squad or more youngsters in their team. Actually, the very metric of this graph and this data that the Athletic produced tells you what is successful. Younger players with some youth players. That'll get you up the top. I know it's only half the story. I know there's more to it than that. And there's lies, damn lies and statistics and all that type of thing. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. But this is being really, really clear. This is showing us, look, our stuff ain't working. It's really not. There's got to be a direct correlation between, well, I guess the energy and the youth that and the legs that younger players will give you by running round, but maybe even the attachment and the identity to a squad, to a team, when people come through the academy. I think that's... I mean, they scramble around the club, and I don't blame the club media team, not in the least. I do think that was a story there, that Max Kilman, when he was younger, used to go to Upton Park with his dad. Now, to be fair, he wasn't a West Ham fan, but I think it was a story. But it's barrel scrapings. That is scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? This is not the story of Mark Noble, right? Walking home from the game, walking to the game from his house, This is not the same type of thing that we're talking about here. And so they're scratching, they're clutching at straws. Anyone that might have had some slight affiliation towards the club. I think it's why we grasp hold of players like Pablo Fornals, for instance, who sort of gets it. He comes in, he gets it, he says, I want to be part of West Ham, and I can imagine if I'd have lived here, my dad would have worked at Dagenham, at Ford and stuff like that. We love that stuff. We really, really do. But there's so few actual West Ham fans in and around it. And I think that metric probably plays a massive part as well, which is not easily measured. But anyway, I just thought it's absolutely disgusting. And there is more at play here. There's a whole club ethos. I don't think we've got a bloody nerve, a real nerve. Surely someone... That's not me. That's the puppy. I don't know what that was. That was some little... I don't know if it was a growl or a fart, quite frankly, but it was something anyway. The club ethos is a shambles. Someone at the club needs to be looking at this, and this requires an internal inquiry. It really does, to have a look and think, how have we got this bad at it? Little growl, really, wasn't it? How have we got this bad at it? It is absolutely horrendous. So I'm going to finish up there. I'm going to distract him now. I'll show him to you. You can say hello in a second. What I'll finish up with is just to say the ethos, the fact that we ask the players to walk out the tunnel over a badge that says West Ham United, the Academy of Football. It's a joke. Honestly, it is the only but name of West Ham, the Academy of Football, because quite frankly, it's absolutely shambolic. Hold on. Zippy, what are you doing? Come here. You going to say hello? You going to say hello? There you go. All right. There he is. A Zipmeister. Zippenstein. Hello, he's a good boy. Oh, he's a good boy. Oh, he's a good boy. There you go. Oh, yeah, right. Well, I think I'd probably... There you go. Look, I'll tell you what. That wags a lot. Green energy, I'm thinking there. Get a little... Get a little something on there. Anyway, right, I'm going to go because I'm getting smothered by a very tricky Zippy. Yeah, lovely dog. Right, I'll see you later.